Today, we're going to trace the hidden connections that link one tiny strip of water to the price of, well, pretty much everything, from your phone to your food. And it all starts with one surprisingly small number. Take a look at this, 21 miles. It doesn't sound like much, does it? Kind of underwhelming, really. But that little 21-mile gap, that is the entire width of what is, without a doubt, the planet's most critical economic artery. And when it gets clogged, believe me, the whole world feels the pain. So let's get our bearings here. What exactly is this strait, and why on earth does it command so much global attention? Okay, so the Strait of Hormuz, it connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. It is the only way out by sea for the giant oil and gas producers in the Middle East. That's why people call it a choke point, because it's a super narrow passage that can be squeezed shut really, really easily. And just look at the scale of what we're talking about here. A full quarter of all oil that's transported by sea, and a fifth of all liquefied natural gas goes through this one spot. That's something like 20 million barrels of oil passing through this tiny channel every single day. And, that crude oil isn't just for putting gas in your car. As you can see from this process, from pulling it out of the ground to distilling it to converting it, that raw black stuff gets transformed into everything. I'm talking gasoline, jet fuel, and even the plastics in our homes. So here's the billion-dollar question. What happens when that flow of 20 million barrels a day just stops? Well, we don't have to imagine it. We've actually seen it happen. This quote really just nails it. It's not just some logistical hiccup. It's a massive systemic shock. You pinch this one spot, and a jolt shoots through the entire global economy. And this isn't some old story from a history book. Not long ago, in early 2026, geopolitical tensions boiled over, and shipping traffic through the strait just plummeted. And the first, most immediate effect was on the price of oil itself. And wow, this chart just perfectly illustrates that shock. Brent crude, which is the global benchmark, was supposed to be chilling around $60 a barrel. By March 2026, it had more than doubled, peaking at $126. And there's really no viable alternative route to get around the strait. Okay, so a spike in gas prices. That makes sense, right? But here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. How does a crisis in an oil field jump all the way to the silicon inside your phone? Let's follow that chain reaction, that cascade. You see, the connection between energy and high-tech manufacturing is way, way more direct than most of us probably think. To get it, you have to appreciate this one fact. The factories, they call them fabs, that make our microchips are just unbelievably power-hungry. I mean, a single one, just one, uses enough power to run 50,000 homes. Just think about that energy bill for a second. So here's how it connects. First, higher oil and gas prices mean crazy high electricity bills for these energy-guzzling fabs. Second, the strait isn't just for oil, it's also a route for essential industrial gases like helium, which you absolutely need for manufacturing. And third, those costs, they don't just vanish. They get baked right into the price of the final product you buy. And the result of all that? Get this, a staggering jump. In 2026, the contract prices for DRAM, that's a super common type of memory chip, they shot up by 90 to 95%, a direct, undeniable consequence of the energy crisis. So we've connected the Strait of Hormuz to your phone. But the ripple effect goes even deeper, touching something even more fundamental to our lives. Let's follow the next link in this crazy chain. Believe it or not, the same crisis that makes your electronics more expensive also directly jacks up the cost of the food on your table. Now, that might sound like a bit of an overstatement, but it is fundamentally true. The productivity of modern farming is just deeply, deeply tangled up with the fossil fuel industry, and specifically with natural gas. And here's why that is. Natural gas is the main ingredient we use to create the ammonia and nitrogen fertilizers that are so essential for modern large-scale farming. The big problem? About a third of the world's key fertilizer chemicals travel along that exact same route. Yep, right through the Strait of Hormuz. So when that supply chain gets pinched, the impact is totally predictable and pretty severe. Food prices in regions that get hit hard, like South Asia, are projected to jump by 10 to 15%. It's simple, really. If you can't get the fertilizer, you just can't grow the crops as efficiently. Okay, so we've got more expensive energy, more expensive electronics, and more expensive food.
Let's just zoom out one last time and look at the total global price tag for all this. What this disruption does is it creates two massive problems for the economy at the exact same time. On one side, you've got a total logistics nightmare, ships being rerouted, adding weeks and huge fuel costs to every single trip. On the other side, you've got this widespread inflation, because when the cost of energy shoots up, the cost of making and moving everything goes right up with it.
So let's just trace that whole chain reaction one final time. It all starts with the Hormuz blockage. The direct effect? A massive oil price spike. The downstream effect of that? Higher shipping and electricity costs. Those higher power costs then lead directly to more expensive chip manufacturing, which gives us that insane 95% jump in memory chip prices. And finally, the natural gas shortage directly creates fertilizer scarcity, which leads to a 15% rise in food prices. It's a perfect economic storm.
Which brings us right back to this really essential idea. The Strait of Hormuz, it's like a nerve ending for the global economy. It just goes to show how incredibly interconnected and honestly how fragile our global supply chains really are.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty critical question, doesn't it? We've built this incredibly efficient global system that relies on these tiny, fragile passageways. But as we've just seen, that efficiency can come at the cost of resilience. So what's the plan for when the next global heartbeat flutters?
Like and subscribe. Don't forget to rung the bell.